Hey, this is Glenn. Welcome to another episode of Difficult Questions. This one, what does allegiance get you? This is on the back of our last episode, protests, and I have some personal experience and a story we'll kind of unravel to kind of explore what does allegiance to a cause get you? So I'm recovering from a motorcycle accident still 2.5 years later. And one of the things I needed to do was make now money as I'm recovering my health. So I ended up getting a job at a library, and I'm a monitor. It's kind of a low-level security guard. Make sure everybody just kind of adheres to the social norms of the library. The leadership of the library is kind of controversial, and they've been doing things that the staff really don't like, and I've seen some things that I really didn't like, especially concerning safety and what they're doing with people that are chaotic and disruptive, or what they're not doing and how they're supporting the staff. And but there are some other things that go on about job classifications and getting paid. Obviously, the money thing is always a problem, and qualifications and who's getting paid what and why. There started to be this huge divide in the staff about, the pro leadership and the anti leadership. And really it had a lot to do with if the leadership was supporting you in your attempts to be promoted, and or the leadership didn't like you and was trying to throttle your ability to succeed in order to kind of maybe encourage you to move on. And there was an opportunity that some of the staff saw to bring up safety to the greater city. So they approached the local newspaper, to do an article on safety. And since I'm a monitor, they had approached me, and I felt, well, I call myself a comfortable outsider. I'm not going to get into it about what you get paid and why you get paid, but safety is something that, yeah, absolutely, I can speak on with some knowledge, being a monitor. And so I am one of 3 people that put their name in an article and then ultimately speak at a city council meeting. And so I become one of the vocal people in the public about this problem at the library. And my contract is up at the end of June, so I'm moving on. But in the back of my head, I just thought, well, this sounds right. I believe that these issues on safety need to be brought up. They aren't being addressed by leadership. So I'm going to say something. But what that did is, I'm just a temporary guy. I just want to rehabilitate from my accident. I need some stable income, some now money, and I'm moving on. And I'm arguably, I think, the lowest paid position there, completely transient. And now I'm being pulled in because I'll put my name on something, to allegiance to a cause. Because some of the staff really do not like the leadership there. And some don't like disruption, and some like the leadership. And now I'm in this divisive allegiance thing. Whose side is Glenn on, right? No one's ever said that, but I get that kind of feeling. And I'm guessing that to some people I've kind of betrayed them. And I just want to be the cool guy. I just want to be cool. I just want to be cool. But that really brought up this idea of your allegiances. And in this time in our nation, we love allegiances. What side are you on? Are you liberal? Are you conservative? Are you a groomer? Are you a woke mind virus person? It goes on and on and on. And especially with the Israel-Palestine eruptions and protests on the university, people were saying, well, if you protest, you're anti-Semitic. People were saying, no, I'm just protesting against a larger government killing all these people because they can. I see every side of everything, and that's a problem to some people. And it's a threat to some people. People don't like it, but I don't see allegiance. In my experience, I don't see allegiance to anybody as productive. What is the thing? What is the idea? What idea do you support? Stick to that idea and act appropriately and accept the consequences. One of the people at the library said, aren't you worried about retaliation? You speaking out, you're going to get fired, or you're going to get, someone's not going to like that. I was trying to communicate my ideals, and I said, I do what I think is right regardless of the consequences. And you have to be in a very specific position in order to do that. I remember being with people and wanting to do things and them saying no, because what you do reflects on me, that allegiance of being in a couple. And I thought, oh, I can't even be in a couple because what I do speaks on what people in the group think of me, or what it speaks on what they do or what they are. And so for me, allegiances got really confusing. So I kind of backed away, but I also live my life very small. So I don't have to worry about what my kids think or what my kids' school people think or what my wife's coworkers think, or I don't have any of that. So my life has gotten really simple and I can just focus on the ideals in front of me. You have this thought and this rationale of what your cause is, but how does that fit with the people in front of you? And are you being mean to the people in front of you? And what I found is people with allegiances tend to give themselves permission to be mean to the person in front of their face. And I just think, well, what is life? Getting hit by cars. I know that the most important interaction is the one in front of your face because that could be the last interaction. So I'm always just trying, no matter what, I'm going to be nice. I'm going to be respectful. I always say, always be respectful, never be afraid. But I see people with allegiances be mean to other people with different allegiances. And I think that is a problem. What do you think? When you are at a protest, are you mad at another student who is going to the same school as you because they have a different idea of a global cause? Are you mean to that person? Are you yelling at that person? Do you wish that person ill? And why? I accuse the protests a lot of times of borrowing outrage. Ultimately, you're a student at Columbia. You may have ideas of how the larger world needs to work, and you may have problems with your school spending or getting money from people or spending money on people you don't agree with. But you are ultimately a student right there, right now. What is your allegiance? And is it worth being awful to someone in front of you? I was talking to a friend of mine, my allegiance, I guess you could call it, which not really, because we don't have allegiance. Storytellers. I'm a storyteller in Los Angeles, and I found that those are my people, for lack of a better term. But they're all free-thinking people. They all look at the world and kind of dissect the world and share their experiences. And I was telling a storyteller about my podcast on protests. And I joke that he probably is part of the CIA, because he is really an interesting guy, and he has done protests, and he thought about it, and he said, about protests, it's not really what the protest has done to the outside world, but really what partaking in that protest has done for me as a person and how it's affected me. And he said, so going to protests is a very personal thing for him, or has been a very personal learning experience for him. And I just thought, wow, that's an interesting way to look at something that's very outward facing for outward facing purposes. It made me think, what is your allegiance? Because ultimately his experience to any protest is allegiance to him and his experience. And I support that, because I always say, you care about you most, which is ultimately true. Maybe your mom at one point cared about you more than you did, but ultimately, as you move forward, you care about you most, because everyone else needs to care about them most. So in this world of protests and being mean to each other and yelling at people that we may know, we may not know, that have different ideals, and as we're forming our groups and our allegiances and our teams, what does allegiance get you? Does it get you fired? Does it get you no jobs? Does it get you called a criminal? Does it get you hired? Does it get you on the good side of history or on the bad side of history? What does allegiance do for you? What does it get you? For me, it hasn't ever really gotten me anything. But then again, being on a team of me hasn't gotten me much of anything either. So I don't know. What are your thoughts? Thanks.